you'd like to, you've been sitting for a long time, why don't you stand up, maybe take your jacket off and relax a little bit. I'm going to take my jacket off because I get excited when I talk about what we're doing here at water harvesting. So water harvesting, we capture water from air. I'm going to talk to you about something that is totally different than anything you've ever seen or heard of. We're going to talk and think of it in terms of distributed water. So you know what the situation is, where we are today and where we're going very quickly by 2025. In addition, it was talked about a lot this morning about the disposal of plastic bottles. We have a problem with drinking water, we've got a problem with PFAS, and we've got a problem with disposal of plastic bottles in the ocean and various other places. More water exists in the atmosphere to the tune of 3 sextillion liters in the atmosphere. It's 21 zeros past the 3. That is available to be harvested. So what do we do here? We start with Dr. Omar Yaghi. He's a Nobel laureate and a professor at University of California, Berkeley. He began working with MOF, Metal Organic Framework, about 6 years ago. And he started working with MOF, and what he did is he developed a MOF that would capture or attract methane gas. And he developed one to attract carbon dioxide. But he grew up in the Sudan. He said, can I develop a MOF that will attract water molecules? And so he developed MOF 303. With MOF 303, it's a three-dimensional MOF, a series of molecules that in its natural state is a powder, like this white powder in this bottle. We then take that MOF and turn it into a paint and paint it on very fine stainless steel mesh. It almost looks like silk. And with that mesh, we make louvers. And in a grid of louvers, as water passes over the MOF, it is naturally attracted to the MOF, and the MOF absorbs the water out of the air. It doesn't absorb it, it adsorbs it. Much like putting water in a glass. So then we heat the MOF, raise the temperature 10 to 15 degrees, very low raise, and the water drops out of the MOF, and it is pure drinking water into a container. We can do this at as low as 15% relative humidity. Our initial tests, and we've been published from the tests that we did in the Mojave Desert. We cycle very quickly on the MOF. Today we're cycling about 60 times a day, so it increases the amount of water that it produces at a very low energy cost. So, there's plenty of water in the atmosphere. We can serve it all day long to the entire population. But here's a key graphic. What you're maybe familiar with is water from air using some form of condensation. Fundamentally a dehumidifier type device or an air conditioner type device. There's a number of issues with that. The first issue is it can only take water out of air at 60% relative humidity or higher. Problem. Because most of the areas where water is stressed are arid. Secondly, it has a high cost. And as you can see on the four graphs, the fine graphs across the top of this, it shows that as the humidity gets lower, the cost of producing it in a condensing system increases fairly rapidly. The wide blue line on the bottom shows us with the MOF. As the humidity decreases, our cost of production, use of electricity basically, increases only incrementally. So once again, we're producing water at as low as 15% relative humidity. We're cycling at 60, 70 times a day, which can produce a great deal of water, and we produce water to the consumer at about 10% of the cost of bottled water. The company. The company is made up of a management team that is very seasoned. You can't read this, and I don't want you to read it, but if you go in and you take a look at this, you'll find multiple people in here who have started companies and scaled them. You have multiple people in here who have scaled both public and private companies and end up with major equity events at the end. You have people in here who have been CTO for 30 years. Our lawyer has been a lawyer in IP and in startups for 30 years. And we also have here people who have sold to the consumer, to the federal government, to the enterprise, and through distribution. It's a very seasoned management team. I have gray hair. So, progress in publications. Let's take you through where we are. First of all, on progress. Initially with the moth, we were able to produce 1 liter of water with 1 kilogram of moth. That was a problem. It would have been too expensive. We now have it at 10 liters of water for 1 kilogram of moth. It takes the cost of the moth out of the equation. We produce the water with consuming electricity about 0.5 to 0.8 kilowatt hours per liter, which also takes the cost of electricity out of the equation, bring us to a very low cost. We tested in the Mojave. We have working production, we have working prototype units in our labs. We will make first delivery to a customer in a very arid area of the world in January 2020. And I'll show you the 2 units we're going to deliver to them. And we've been published in the Science Journal and in Popular Mechanics. What does it look like? The first unit, which is a consumer unit in the upper left-hand corner there, will produce 4 to 8 liters of water a day. And it depends on the size of the moth that we put in it. We're even thinking of having a 1 liter personal unit you put on your nightstand. If you like a bottle of fresh water on your nightstand. So the consumer unit is about the size of a very small coffee maker. Sits on the countertop and plugs into the 110. Uses very low electricity. Kitchen countertop, bottled water replacement, in a very area where we first started to market this and are gaining great deal of traction is in hotels. You got to realize how much bottled water is in a hotel room, and especially in areas of the world where you can't drink water. We're getting good traction. The second unit, which is future, will actually deliver as a prototype in January, but actually be ready for prime time in the middle of the year, is a 200 liter per day unit. It's about the size of a double door refrigerator. It actually has to sit outside because of the amount of water it's going to take out of the air, and it produces 200 liters of water a day and can tie right into your plumbing system. And then finally, there's large units, container size, produces 20,000 liters of water per day. So where are we at? It's global impact. We have an experienced and successful leadership team that's done this before in different markets. We have exclusive patent position on the moth and the process to develop it and the process to put it into use. There's very large markets for us out there. We have unlimited supply of water to draw on. We have a low cost to capture it and to produce it. And our first product will deliver in 2020. We're in the middle of our Series A. We closed the first part of it. How would you like to participate? We are looking for pilot sites, which today we have 12 companies in various industries that have signed up to pilot the unit. We would like to do 25 pilots in the first half of next year. And also, we'd like to, if you'd like to, as an investor, like to explore with me, meet me, and we can talk about our Series A. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So I'm curious if you would talk a little bit about, you talked about power and efficiency and how you made progress there. Can you talk a little bit about the mining and production or the manufacture and scale up required to get the scale you needed to be?
To get what, the moth to the scale?
The moth.
See, the moth we produce in the lab, and right now we are producing it in volume. So that we've already...
What does volume mean?
Pardon me?
What does volume mean?
We are producing enough to deliver through the first half of next year. And we're in a very small lab, a 200 square foot lab. As we scale up, we brought people on board that can scale the process. It's a mixing process for them.
And as you scale, does it get cheaper? Does it get more tedious? What comes with that?
The cost stays about, for the moth, the cost stays about the same. The big change that we had in 1 liter to 10 liters for the moth was changing the basic fundamental metal underneath it.
So what is you said that basically the cost risk of the moth has been retired, but what is the dollars per kilogram? Like how much does moth take to produce for the kilogram that you need to get your 10 liter amount?
So in the unit that is the countertop unit, the unit will sell for $600.
Okay.
Sits on the countertop, and it has less than a kilogram of moth in it. And the moth in it is about $28 of the total cost of the unit.
All right. So the unit itself is going to retail at 600.
600.
With a gross margin of, is it a gross margin or are you doing by delivery?
No, gross margin at right around 70%.
Sounds attractive. That's great. Okay, so is there a degradation over time of the performance of the moth?
That's a very good question. We have run 10,000 cycles through the moth, and we have seen no degradation in its ability to produce water. So at this point in time, we're looking at a 5-year, and we're obviously, we continue to run. It's running in the lab right now with more cycles. But at 10,000 cycles, we have seen no degradation. No deterioration, no degradation, and no maintenance on the units.
Your countertop model versus your future models, they play in very different market
Yes.
verticals. How do you plan to navigate that from a sales strategy perspective and from a staffing perspective?
Okay, so very good question. We're focused on the countertop unit to make sure our marketing and sales is very focused initially. Then the different markets. So the different markets going with the 200 liters a day. Now we're going to hospitals, we're going to schools, and a little bit different market, dealing with governments and so on and so forth. So that's a different staffing and a different sales model. The 20,000 liter a day is a community. So that's definitely governments. It's military base where we have interest for military bases there, but it's military bases in communities, which is once again dealing with the government, which is a different sales unit.
And as you scale up to these larger applications, what water quality testing or insurance policies are you giving on this water to your user?
You know, one of the reasons that we're going to do the number of pilots we've already had the water tested, and it's pure, with no metals or anything that's foreign in it that you wouldn't like to have in your water. But the reason we're going to do so many pilots is to continue testing the water. We see the water does not penetrate the moth. The moth contains it, it absorbs it. So there's nothing it's adding to it. So we see no reason. Now, holding it in a large container will require UV to keep bacteria and to keep it pure. So we're definitely dealing with that.
Let me play out the example a little bit though. So I'm a Navy base and I'm going to use one of your systems.
Yeah.
I need to ensure that no matter what happens, no matter what you tell me, I'm giving safe water to the people that reside on the base. Are you going to work with me on a recurring testing scheme, or is that up to me as the buyer to do on my own?
You're going to, especially initially, we have a consistent and a cadence for testing the water, both in the countertop and the larger units. Just keep the first delivered will be a 200 liter a day and a countertop, and that will be in January. So we're working with that at that point. It's very good.
I just want to ask about the physics of the 20,000 litre units. So presumably you're going to be deploying them in relatively hot places. There's going to be a lot of density in there. There's going to be a difference in the moisture in the air as the air flows through the unit. Like, how far have you gone in de-risking, whether it's interior heat or the actual performance of the units on the inside versus the ones on the outside or near the intake airflow? Like, where are you on actually really understanding the physics of the 20,000 litre unit and whether or not this does scale linearly, which is what you're assuming?
So, first of all, my degree's in marketing, not science. We'll take it. So, but we do, on paper, we have scheduled that out. And based on the fact that the 200 liter starts with modules, the 20,000 liter is multiples of those modules. So then what it is the requirement of the fans, the type of fans to move the air over the modules, and then what it's going to take to heat them up, raise the temperature 10 to 15 degrees to drop the water.
Good?
Yeah, good.
Thank you very much.
Isn't that fascinating?
Wow.